welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you so much for joining us for another insightful and deeply meaningful conversation. Goldilocks reminds us of how to get things just right, to make choices that are not too hard, not too soft, not too hot, not too cold. Where is that middle ground so that we can optimize the outcome and optimize the influence? Because we can each only influence 3 levels from where we are. So if we move towards the center, we can influence 3 levels to the right, 3 levels to the left. And in our own lane, we create 7 degrees of influence. Whereas if we carve out spaces in any extreme, we can only influence 3 levels down or 3 levels up. So in our own self-interest, it behooves us to find that centeredness. And that is the message Goldilocks is giving us. And that's how we're going to get things just right. And today we're going to talk about the importance of understanding and learning how money works and why knowing that is important to get our life just right. Keeping in mind, as humans, there are bookends to our life: emotional resiliency and financial resiliency. Emotional resiliency is our emotional intelligence, our cultural intelligence, our gender, generational intelligence, all of that rolled into how we show up in the world, understanding us and understanding the world around us. Financial resiliency is showing up in a way that we give ourselves the ability to go through the ebb and flows of life without falling apart. And life experience shows us no matter how emotionally resilient we are, when financial resiliency goes, everything is up for grabs, because at that point of survival and desperation, humans do anything to just see the next day. So today's conversation is so important, and it is an absolute honor to have Bryan here with me. Bryan Scolaro is a part of our team. We're a team of people who get engaged with people and educate them and give people an opportunity for a better life, a better choice, and a better future. So Bryan, welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks.
Hey, Cass, thanks so much for having me. Enjoyed being here and having a discussion with you.
It's an absolute pleasure, Bryan. As we get started, I want our audience to hear from you why you decided to walk this path. Because you and I, as folks who've had careers, who still do other things, we do this for a reason. I want people to understand why you're doing this and how it then gives you back from an intrinsic perspective.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think I do this because I really want to have an impact and a legacy. I want to be able to look back at my efforts and energy and what I've done and be able to really look and see, okay, did I have an impact? I mean, most of us have a job, and if you look back, if you go to another company, you look back a year from then, you can't really tell if you're even there. And so I wanted to have the fulfillment of like being able to look back and say, hey, I've really had an impact with families. I've really had an impact with individuals. They're on a completely different course now than they were from when I met them. And that's a better course. I mean, they're, financially more stable. They have a better future. They are more informed, make better decisions, have more confidence, and have the tools and resources that they need. And then that can even compound as far as having a legacy for their kids and their grandkids. So I wanted to be able to look back and really feel good about what I've done with my actions, feel good about changing my community, people that I've haven't met, anything like that, and really feel good as far as having that kind of change.
Thank you, Bryan. And I see this, right, as we work through on a regular basis. One of the things that is core to what we do fundamentally as educators and people who are bringing solutions and know-how to the community One is understanding we are living in the wealthiest country in the world, and we never teach people about how money works and how to create wealth. That is such a huge gap. And two, we live in a society where everybody believes it's me and I have to take care of me and it's all about me. But we come at it from a collaborative perspective. We work together. It doesn't matter who gets what, as long as our mission of getting people armed with the knowledge and the wisdom to take action is taken care of. And we do this at no cost to the people we're helping. Talk to us a little bit about why each of these three elements, creating the knowledge space and driving the growth of wisdom, collaboration, and then doing the right thing and letting it stand for itself. Why the integration of three is important for us in the way we do this.
Yeah, I think it's important because society has changed and it's not the same society as in situations that my dad grew up in. You know, you got out of high school, you were able to get a good job, you worked for a company for 40 years, you retired with a pension. And then after that, you know, everybody was like, you go to college, invest in your 401k, and you'll be fine. And so now I think it's just changed again, where now people are changing jobs within 4 to 5 years. They're not staying at the company that long. Um, it's interesting, you know, I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, you don't have to work hard and invest and you'll be fine." But that's really not necessarily the case. I mean, there's a lot of volatility in the market. There's a lot of changing going on, you know, as far as tariffs and AI. I think a lot of people are scared about the future and just the unknown more than anything else because AI is affecting lots of industries. It's not just one industry, say HR, and the rest are fine, you know, or maybe programmers. It's across several types of industry. And so I think sharing this knowledge, sharing this information where then people can really understand it. I mean, you can go to Google and you're going to find what you're looking for. If you're searching for, you know, how does a stock work, it'll tell you, but then how does that relate to you? How does that affect you in your life? You know, so I think it's important that we have these discussions with people and really, you know, have a one-on-one discussion at some point because, you know, if you have a book and you don't take action, it's not really that well. So, you know, even if I'm presenting at a conference or in an event, you know, you're giving that knowledge, but you've got to talk to somebody and really find out what they want to do and then help them get to that, help them get to their goals just like we do with Netflix. You know, you like your shows and it's all customized now to what you want to watch. We do the same thing. I mean, we don't have you know, limited as far as how we can help people. We try to meet them where they're at, and I have the resources to be able to do that with lots of different products and services.
I absolutely love that analogy, Bryan, because it resonates for people who are
Hmm.
coming at this from the outside.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't know what they need or what they need to put in place until it's too late. Because, as we say in my culture, it's human nature to want to worship the sun after you've lost your sight. But money related issues you truly want to put in place before you lose things, because once you've lost it, it's impossible to get back. What advice do you have for young people, people starting in their careers, people going into college, in college, in terms of understanding and mastering this for their own self-preservation and prosperity?
Yeah, I think really the young people have an advantage over all of us pretty much because they've got the time value of money. You know, they've got the advantage as far as having the time for their money to work with them. And I think the sooner that they can learn financial literacy for themselves, they carry those skills throughout their whole life and they just keep building on those skills to be more informed as they go. And like you said, instead of waiting at the end, I talked to a lot of people and they're like, oh, I wish I'd have known this 10 years ago. I wish I would have known about this 20 years ago. So I think for young people, it's really important for them to find out about this, to learn about it. That's why we're on a crusade to spread this message, because then they're going to be able to start investing slow, and as their career progresses and then they start, advancing in their career, that they can really know as far as other products to set themselves up. Like you said, especially um, once you pass a certain threshold, if some event happens in life, you can't get certain protections to help you out. It's too late and you're done. So you've got to get some things in place before that happens. But a lot of people think, oh, that's never going to happen to me, or that'll be down the road, I'll worry about it then. And so that's why it's so important to get things in place early, even though that they know, oh, that's down the road. I'm not going to worry about retirement right now, but you got to get those in place to really be protected and set yourself up before it is too late and you can't get those things in place.
You're absolutely right, Bryan. Just like our health, right? If we live like we're invincible and do all the wrong things all the way up to 40, we'll pay the price in our 50s, 60s, and 70s. Money is the same way. Wealth is the same way. The choices we make when we are young definitely sets the course. Now, in addition to young people and students, we're also working with women and young parents.
Mhm.
And it's important for us because we are helping shape for any risks they or their children are going to face, and we're risk mitigating. It's not just wealth and wealth creation and understanding how money works, but also creating that risk mitigation. And a lot of times people don't understand the things they can do in terms of planning as each child is carried to term. There are things they can do to set that child up for success by the time the baby is 6 months, 1 year old. And then even married couples can figure out how to do things in a way that no one spouse is more important than the other. And they both go into a marriage understanding how the process works so that if something happens to one person, the family unit is sustainable. Can you share an example or an illustration of how you have been able to help people in those stages in life?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with a family and that they recognize that they need to take action as far as to protect themselves if something happens. But again, a lot of people are uninformed, they're nervous, they're scared, that type of thing. And so a lot of people, don't want to do any action then instead of making the wrong choice. And so I was able to sit down with the family and talk about their situation, what they wanted to do. And, a lot of families now need both people to earn income to support the family. And so, I talked to them, what would happen if something happened to one of the partners, just for the one that's still there, all of a sudden now they've got to take up the load that other partner was carrying, and that can be really tough. And if you don't have things in place to make that easier, you're talking about really changing course for that family versus how it would look if you do have proper things in place in that situation. And then even for the child or the children, setting it up where they can really have a bright future and know that they're going to be taken care of. And so we talked about that, and then it felt good that they realized, okay, I knew I needed to do this, but I wasn't sure where to go and how to do it. Glad we had this conversation. I've been looking for someone, and so I was able to really help them with a customized solution for them that fit their needs, where they were at, what they had saved, what they have coming in, so they felt comfortable as far as getting things in place. It wasn't too big. They didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. They felt like, no, this is good. I feel good about these decisions, and I know now that we're going to be set up for the future really well.
Thank you, Bryan. This has been a very enlightening conversation. I know our audience are going to be benefiting from this. Can you take a moment and share with us how folks can get a hold of you and a nugget of wisdom, regardless of age, gender, generation, that people can take with them? And then I will open it up to the live audience for a conversation.
Yeah, so there's several ways to get a hold of me. I'm on LinkedIn, Bryan Scolaro. I also have my own website. It's going to be wealthwave.com/money education. And so there they can get more information, connect with me if they want to talk, or just we've got some ebooks that we teach with. So I would be happy to engage those conversations and see if I can teach them some things. As far as a nugget, I don't know if I have a nugget. I mean, I would just say it's important to really be curious, to want to again increase their knowledge, financial literacy, and that can be different respects. But I think that the sooner that they do that, the more they realize as far as choices. I think it makes me upset that, like I said, when I was going to school and growing up, everybody said, "Oh, 401k, got to put the money in there." But you forget or don't realize that you can't take the money out till 59 and a half. What if you're 30? That's a long time. What if you want to put money down in a house or a wedding or whatever? Life throws you a curveball. Um, and it's interesting that the man that created the 401k, they had an interview on a TV show, and at the end they asked him, "Do you have a 401k?" And he said no. So there's other ways to have investments, but then be able to have access without having to pay penalties or that type of thing. So I think just the education, just understanding and being curious about this, reading books, getting a trusted advisor like myself or someone that has been around and can help them out as a guide is really important too.
Thank you so much, Bryan.
Mhm.
I open it up to our audience. Go ahead, Robin.
This has been a great discussion. So I have a question is when you're working with people, how do you
Mhm.
help them get unstuck? Like they know they need to do something and they're just frozen. What do I
Yeah,
do?
that comes up a bunch. That's a good question. So really what we do, because you wouldn't go to a doctor and he's not going to be like, "All right, Robin, let me start giving you these prescriptions, these medicine. We're just going to start, you know, throwing things against the wall and see what sticks." He's going to be like, "Hey, let's do some blood workup. Let's talk about your family history. How are you feeling? What kind of aches and pains do you have?" And then come up with a plan to get you, as healthy as possible, right? So we do the same thing when it comes to finances. So we do a financial needs analysis. We do a complimentary, no charge. I don't think it's crazy that some people charge between $1,000 to $3,000 just to show somebody where they're at. And a lot of people haven't done budgets. So it's a way to get them focused. They don't realize what they're spending. And so we say, like, okay, let's look at what's coming in, what's going out. What do you have saved? What are your goals? Where do you want to get to? Have you thought about an age that you want to retire? No, I just want to retire sometime. Or sometimes several people have said death. Death is my retirement. I'm like, whoa, let's kind of, have a better discussion and a better mindset with this. And so we calm them down. We say, hey, there's no blame, shame, or guilt. We're trying to help you. We can't help you unless I know where you're at. So let's look at this honestly. So then we can point you in the direction that you want to go and get you going in the right place. And so then, we can have a deeper discussion about that. So it's really letting them see, the what they have in place and getting them focused, like I said, with the retirement. Let's say, okay, you don't know an age. Let's pick 65 and you want to have $5,000 in retirement. Okay, let's show you what that looks like. Let's get your financial needs number and we reverse engineer it to say, this is what you need to save. Maybe they're perfect. Maybe like, hey, look at this. You're on track. You keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get there. Maybe there's a gap. Okay, you need to save this amount. Are you prepared or do you have the way to save that? No, that's a lot of money. Okay, well then let's back it up and maybe let's look at 70. Let's change the numbers around a little bit and then back it down. Oh, I could do that. That's doable. Okay. So now we're getting them focused and really, zeroed in on what that takes a look at as far as then just having these concepts of someday and I don't know, I need just a lot of money and this type of thing. It really changes it. So we really start there, and that's where we would really, I think, be able to help people get focused in.
Great,
That is
awesome.
such an amazing question, Robin, and I love how you've framed the answer. A couple of things I would add to that, Robin, and to our audience is we also look and have a conversation on the various risks people are going to run in life, right? What is the probability of something happening? If it happens, is it going to be catastrophic? Are you protected against it? You may want to work till you're 70, but what if you had a workplace accident and the workplace just terminates you and you have disability and then disability runs out, or you don't have proper coverage to run your life? Then marriage falls apart, everything falls apart, right? So we do a risk assessment and see where some of those risks and catastrophic events are going to come from. And are you protected against it? How do we get you prepared for it? At the same time, if there is a gap in you bridging what you need to have, is there ways we can help you to have an income stream? And we will work with you on that too. So it's not just looking for a way for you to build for the future, but risk mitigate and bridge the building as well. So it's truly a holistic approach. It is not just one person. When you work with one of us, the whole team is there to support. And therefore, it is a shared journey. And the people we're helping don't pay us. The cure doesn't cost the patient anything in terms of our engagement.
Awesome. That's great.
Thank you. Go ahead, Nandini.
Hi. I think my question is a little related to what Robin asked. So I work with a lot of very young women, so between the ages of maybe 18, 19 till 25. Some of them are older, but a majority of them right now are in that range. And a lot of them are probably don't have college degrees. Maybe they do, maybe they dropped out, and they're living paycheck to paycheck. They may have a child. They may be divorced with 2 children, 1 child. And prioritizing money and their own sense of wealth is not really in their mindset at this moment. And so I guess my question is, do you have any advice for them? Or rather, maybe it is, do you have any advice for me when they're talking to me about these things to maybe guide them into the right direction of maybe finding somebody like you to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they're not alone. I think the last numbers I've
Mhm.
seen, 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And so, when you're in that situation, you're just trying to get to the next paycheck and survive, right? So it's hard to really, under those circumstances, do a whole lot with it. I mean, you're limited on what you have available and what you could like contribute, protection, that type of thing. I'm not saying that there's not there. It's just a little bit more limited. So I think in that respect, they need to look as far as increasing their cash flow, increasing their income, becoming an entrepreneur, thinking about a business of themselves that they can do. And, the nice thing about what I do is it's very flexible. Somebody can do it part-time. You don't have, situations where you have a quota or that type of thing. So it's flexible where they could do it in the morning, after they drop off the kids or in the afternoon or that type of thing. But they need to do something, I think, to try to be control their own destiny and try to do something that they can build as a business and build that up and not necessarily depend on a company or a paycheck because we see that those are changing daily. I mean, I just read where Salesforce is laying off 4,000 people because of AI. I think that's the tip of the iceberg. So I think when you can take control and really have a situation where they can reach customers and do something unique, then as they get that cash flow coming in, now it opens up other avenues to really set them up, like we said, for protection, investments, this type of thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Nandini, because we live, and thank you, Bryan, for the amazing answer. We live in a society where women carry a larger burden. Women do most of the unpaid work because the definition of work is what creates profits for the corporation, right? So the work women do is not considered work. And therefore, they don't make as much money and their compensation is less. And the charge on their compensation is also high. Insurance is high. Everything else is high for a woman compared to a man. So we are living in that reality. One of the things we as women who are in a different place in society can do is become coaches and mentors and share with them ideas by which they can accomplish things without having to pay money for everything. You and I come from a part of the world where not everything is required to be paid for. What if we create an environment where some of those opportunities exist and those support systems exist in this community because it's so foreign to us? right? In our part of the world, in Africa, even in Europe and Latin America, in Tamil, we call it chittu. I don't know what people would call it in their respective languages. 12 women get together and everybody puts $100 or $500 or whatever they can afford as a standard fixed amount into a pool. And that entire pool goes to one woman 1 month in every year. And therefore, there's a capital infusion towards every woman to do the things they need to do. Even in Belize, even the mayor and the politicians get together and do this as a community. So these are tools that are there, provided people build a community of trust and know they can count on each other. And we can fund each other, even if it means putting $10 in the pool and every month some woman getting $120. But that means we have to stay in it, and everybody needs to get that $120 over the course of 12 months. You can't just grab your piece and walk away. So it comes with commitment, it comes with integrity, it comes with understanding that supporting one another, we can all thrive. And that means we have to change the mindset from an individualistic culture to a collaborative, cohesive culture. And that is part of the struggle, right? So when I work with people in this scenario, first what I do is create that mindset that we go further for longer together. If you want to go fast and crash and burn, do it alone. And once you start doing little things to build the trust, then you expand the community. And then we help each other and we shape our collective path.
Mm.
And we need to think outside the box. Not everything is required to be done with money. And how do we then build that trust to allow the creation, the funnel of that money to then build our wealth? And risk mitigation. Instead of eating for cheap, what if I grow a couple of things in my yard and eat healthy? That becomes a hobby for me. It's healthy. And then I'm not spending as much money at the grocery store, and my healthcare is better. Therefore, my healthcare costs are lower. Prevention has a positive impact on the economy too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's understanding all of these moving pieces and putting it together is also the key.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you both. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank
You're
you.
quite welcome. Thank
This
you.
has been an amazing conversation, Bryan. I am absolutely delighted that you are able to join us in this conversation. And I would love to inform the audience that we understand, as Bryan said, the world is changing, the economy is changing. We're going from a employment economy to a gig economy. Even employers are looking for contract-based, project-based work. So we are going to start having free webinars once a month, once a quarter, to start educating people and bringing them into the fold. Bryan, do you want to add anything on how that process can help us help people?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that gives them a place that they can, start with the financial literacy for themselves and impacting their families. So I think, being free, is lowering the barrier where a lot of times, there's charges for these kind of seminars, these kind of get-togethers. So I'm excited to do that and to really help people out where then they have a better understanding. They're more confident in their decisions. They know about more tools and products and services to help them out, and they can really have an impact for themselves. And like I said, the community, and when we have a stronger community, we're all better off for that.
Thank you, Bryan. Thank you so much for bringing your insight, and most of all, deeply grateful for the work you do in the community in a way that it's changing not just lives, but changing the scope of the future for them and their loved ones and the future generations. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the compassion and the mindset with which you do it to give people dignity, because we're living in an era where people's dignities are ripped apart. And the work we do together, the compassion with which you do it, gives people dignity. And to me, That is something that is so positive. And it almost feels like a spiritual journey because you're helping people get out of their funk and find themselves. And to our audience out there, please don't let where you are today determine where you end. Take a step back and reach out a hand. Reach out to people who can help you, who can show up with compassion and help you find your dignity and show up with self-compassion and grace so that you can build the life and the future you need and your children need and our collective society needs. So don't be afraid. Reach out to Bryan, reach out to us, give us a call, and we are going to make sure we show up for you and we show up consistently for you so that you can find your way to where you need to end, where you need to reach, and what you need to thrive.